everyone, and I'm back, and today we're reading Captain Underpants, the first book, the first epic novel. Okay, let me start. Chapter 1, George and Harold. Meet George and Harold Hutchins. Meet George Beard and Harold Hutchins. George is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold is the one on the left and on the right with the t-shirt and the bear haircut. Remember that now. Bigger on roses. George and Harold were the best friends. They had a lot of fun. They lived right next door to each other. They were both in the same 4th grade class at Hausen's elementary school. George and Harold were usually responsible kids. Whenever something bad happened, George and Harold were usually responsible. Pick our noses. Ew. But don't get the wrong idea about these two. George and Harold were actually nice, very nice boys, no matter what. Everybody else thought they were good, sweet, and lovable. Well, okay, maybe they weren't so sweet, lovable, but they were good nutants. Wait. Okay, it's just that George and Harold each had a silly sneak, a middle long, usually. Sometimes it got them into trouble, and once it got them into big trouble. But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. After a hard day of cracking jokes, pulling pranks, and causing mayhem at school, George and Harold liked to rush to the old treehouse in George's backyard. Inside of the treehouse were 2 big, old, fluffy chairs, a table of cardboard, crammed with junk food, and a crate filled with pencils, pens, and stacks of paper. You better hear this. Harold loved to draw, and George loved to make up stories. And together the 2 boys spent hours and hours writing and drawing their very own comic books. Over years, they have created hundreds of their own comics, starting thousands of their own superheroes. First, there was Dogman. Then came Timmy the Talking Toilet. And who can forget the amazing cow lady? But the all-time greatest superhero they have made up had to be the amazing Captain Underpants. George came up with an idea. Most superheroes look like they're flying around with their underwear. He said, well, that guy actually is flying around in his underwear. The 2 boys laughed and laughed. Yeah, said Owl. He could fly the Wiggle Power. George and Harold spent afternoons waiting and enjoying the comic adventures of Captain Underpants. He was the coolest superhero ever. Luckily for the boys, certainly, at Children's House and Emily School, elementary school, there was too much busy to keep an eye on the copy making. So whenever they got a chance, Harold and George would sneak into the office and run off several hundred copies of their latest Captain Underpants adventure. After school, they sold their homemade comics on the playground for 50 cents each. Chapter 3, The Adventures of Captain Underpants. Written by George Beard and Harold Hutchins. Cartoons by Harold. Written by George Beard. Cartoons by Harold Hutchins. The Really Cool Adventures of Captain Underpants. Written by George Beard. Drawn by Harold Hutchins. It was a time of darkness and despair for planet Earth. Bad guys had taken over the streets, and all for the superheroes in the world were too old to fight evil. Hey! Ha ha. But then came along a new improved extra sent superhero. Tra-la-la! Look back in the sky! It's a bird. It's a plane. It's an egg salad sandwich. No way! I'm Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants was faster than a speedy wind, more powerful than a boxer shorts, and be able to leap tall buildings without getting a wig. Tra-la-la! Then Captain Underpants watched over the city for fighting truces and all of the pre-sprung and corner. Meanwhile, at the nerdy elementary school, turn the next page. It was a stingy taco surprise day at the cafeteria. Yuck. Everybody hated it so much they threw it all away. Soon the cafeteria food came to life. I'm the invisible humbug. Monster ran around the school eating everything in sight. Munch! Help! The invisible hunk just ate the 15 folding chairs and the gym teacher. Oh no, folding chairs. This looks like a job for Captain Underpants. Tra-la-la! Captain Underpants shot lots of underwear at the monster, but it didn't do any good. Munch, munch. So Captain Underpants took off running. The invisible hunk chased him. Grrr! Help! And chased him. Finally, the incredible hunk got too tired and thirsty. Captain Underpants to chase Captain Underpants. How about a nice drink of water? So the monster took a long drink from the shiny white bowl. Go, go. When suddenly, hooray for Captain Underpants! And so the incredible hunk got flushed away and was never heard from again. Tra-la-la! The end. Don't miss our next exciting adventure, Captain Underpants and the Attack of the Taking Toilet, coming soon to a playground near you. Chapter 4. Mean old Mr. Crook. Do you see that old guy looking out the window up there? That's Mr. Crook, the principal. Now, Mr. Crump was the meanest old principal in the whole history of his elementary school. He hated laughter and singing. He hated the sounds of children playing at recess. In fact, he hated children altogether. And guess which two children Mr. Crow hated the most of all? You guessed George and Harold. You're right. Mr. Crab hated George and Harold. He hated their pranks and their worst cracks. He hated their silly adventures and their constant giggly and he especially hated those awful Captain Underpants comic books. I'm gonna get those two boys one day, said Mr. Crab void. One day very, very soon. Chapter 5. One day very, very soon. Remember when I said that George and Harold's silly streak got them into big, big trouble once? Well, this is the story of how that happened. And some turned their principal into the coolest superhero of all time. It was the day of the biggest football game of Infernal Sunrise, and the bleachers were filled with fans. See our big football game today. Shh, quiet! The cheerleaders ran over to the field and shook their palms over their heads. A fine black dust out of their pom-poms and scattered around. Give me a K, shouted the cheerleaders. K, repeated the fan. Give me an N, shouted the cheerleaders. N, repeated the fans. Give me an chew, sneezed the cheers. Chew, repeated the fans. The cheerleaders sneezed and sneezed some more. They couldn't stop sneezing. Hey, shouted a fan. These bleachers, somebody sprinkled black pepper into the cheerleaders' pom-poms. I wonder who did that, asked another fan. The cheerleaders stamped off the field, sneezing and dripping, as much as the marching band members took their punches. But when the band began to play, steady streams of bubbles began to blowing out of their atoms. Bubbles were everywhere, and down the field the marching band slipped, and leaving behind the sick trail of bubbly fan. Hey, shouted the fan Richards. Somebody poured bubble baths into the marching band's sterns. I wonder who did that, asked another fan. Soon the football teams took the field, and the knuckleheads. They kicked the ball up, went the ball slid into the clouds. Nobody could see it anymore. Hey, shouted a fan. The bleachers, somebody filled the game ball with him. I wonder who did that, asked another fan. But the missing ball didn't take any difference, because that moment the knuckleheads were rolling around the field, stretching and acting crazy. Hey, shouted the coach. 70 replays are deep heading Mr. Laden with Mr. Pondon's extra stitchy extra cream. I wonder who did that, shouted the fans in the beach eyes. The whole afternoon went much the same way, people shouting, sang monkeys, and lemonade. To hey, somebody rolled all the bathroom doors shut before the most of the fans in the bleachers gotten up and left. The big game had been fought, and everybody in the school was miserable. Boy, our feet smell bad. Hey, what's this? Let me just fix this. Okay, good. Everyone except for the two giggling boys crouched into the shadows beneath the bleachers. Those were the best pranks yet, laughed Harold. Yes, chuckled George. They'll be hard to stop for sure. I hope we don't get busted for this, said Harold. Don't worry, we cut our tracks really well. There's no way will get busted. Chapter 6. The next day at school, the announcement came over loudspeakers. George Beard and Harold Hutchins, please report to the principal's Crup's office at once. Uh-oh, said Harold. I don't like that sound of that. Don't worry, said George. They can't prove anything. George and Harold entered Principal Crup's office and sat down on the chairs in front of his desk. The two boys been in his office together countless times before. Times before the scheme different. Mr. Crupp was smiling as long George and Harold had known Mr. Crupp. They had never ever seen him smile. Mr. Crupp knew something. I didn't see you boys at the big game yesterday, said Mr. Crupp. Uh-oh, said George. We weren't feeling well. Yeah, Harold scanned nervously. We went home. Oh, that's too bad, said Mr. Crupp. You boys missed a good game. George and Harold quickly glanced at each other, gulped, and tried hard not to look guilty. Luckily, you have a report of the whole thing, Mr. Crupp said. He turned on the television on the corner, pressed the play button on the VCR. Back on the watching message upon the TV screen, it was a shot of George and Harold spreading paper and their children's pom-poms. Next to it came a shot of George and Harold pounding lip bubbles back into the marching band's hummus. How do you like that per game show? Asked Mr. Crupp, a television grin. George's eye was television screen in a terror. He couldn't answer. Harold were gulped to the floor. He couldn't look. The tape went on and on, revealing all of George and Harold behind the scenes acting. By now, both of the boys were eyeing the floor, swimming nervously and dripping sweat. Mr. Crupp turned off the TV. Okay, I'm going to stop at here. I stopped at 39. I need a bookmark. I only have pencil, so I'll use the pencil. Bye bye, see you in my next video.